Rob here at Etrailer.com, and today you're going to be taking a look at the CURT Class 1 Custom Fit Trailer Hitch Receiver on our 2019 Buick Encore. Now here's what it's going to look like once we have it installed. The cross tube is going to be sitting right below the bumper, but the main thing we're going to see is the receiver tube sticking out because that cross tube is going to be pushed back a little bit. Now it is a Class 1, so it's going to give us that 1.25" by 1.25" receiver tube opening. And most people associate a hitch with towing a trailer. But our Class 1 hitch is going to be able to do a lot of different things. We're going to be able to carry a bike rack with us, or maybe a cargo carrier so we can get some extra gear out of the inside and make some more room. But regardless of how you're going to be using it, we're going to mount all of our accessories to the hitch pinhole here on the side. It is going to accept a standard 1/2" pin and clip. Now these are not included with the kit, but you can pick them up here at Etrailer.com along with some locking devices to make sure your accessories are secure. Now if you do plan on towing a trailer, keep in mind that our hitch is designed to work with specific drawbars, and you can find those here at Etrailer.com, and they are sold separately. But if you are towing, you have to have a spot to hook up your safety chains. Now we have a plate style welded to the bottom of the receiver tube, and as you can see, even with some of the smaller hooks, we have plenty of room to get them hooked on or take them off. Now you want to make sure that the hitch is going to be up to the task that you put it to. So our hitch is going to have a 200-pound tongue weight. That's going to be the maximum downward force at the end of the receiver tube. It's also going to have a 2,000-pound gross trailer weight rating. That's how much it can pull, but that does include the trailer and everything we have loaded on it. But you do want to double check your Buick's owner's manual because you don't want to exceed the manufacturer's recommended weight. I'd like to give you a few measurements. These are going to help you whenever you're looking for accessories for your new hitch, like a bike rack or a cargo carrier. From the center of the hitch pinhole to the outermost edge of the bumper, it's right about 5 inches. Now, that measurement is going to help you out when you're looking at folding accessories to make sure they can go into the upright position and they're not going to come in contact with the rear bumper. From the ground to the inside top edge of the receiver tube opening, it's right about 11.5 inches. Now at that height, I would definitely recommend a bike rack or a cargo carrier that has a raised shank. That way we can get a little bit more ground clearance out of it. But now that we've seen what our hitch looks like and gone over some of the features, let's get it installed together. To begin our installation, we need to lower our exhaust down. But before we do, we want to put up a support strap. That way it doesn't cause any damage by coming down too fast. So you just want to find a solid point on the vehicle that we can hook it to. And just we're going to tighten up the strap so we'll support it back here behind the muffler. If we find our muffler and we follow it up, we'll find a rubber isolator on each side. We need to remove these so that the exhaust can come down. So I'm just going to spray a little bit of spray lubricant on there, make it a little bit easier for that isolator to slide off. And I'm just going to take a pry bar and we're going to pry against it until we can free it. And we'll do that for the other one on the other side as well. Now if we come to the frame rail, at the very back, almost where our bumper is, and we look on the outside, we'll see 2 threaded holes. Those are going to be 2 of our mounting locations, and they're going to be on both sides of the frame. We're going to make sure they're nice and clean, there's no dirt, dust, or debris inside. So I'm going to spray a little bit of spray lubricant, and then I'm going to come back with a nylon brush, and I'm going to clean out the weld nuts, making sure that our bolts will thread in easily, and they're not going to cross thread. You want to make sure you clean out all the weld nuts, 2 on each side. So those will be 2 mounting locations on the side of the frame, and they'll be on both sides. Now we're going to have another mounting location. If we find the large hole in the bottom of the frame, right by our brake line, and we move back towards the bumper, we'll have a smaller hole. And again, that's going to be on both sides of the frame. This is going to be another mounting location. However, we're going to have to get our hardware in place. So what we want to do is when we come to that brake line, it's held onto the frame by a clip right here. So we're going to open that clip up with our fingers and then just very gently pull down on the brake line and just move it just to the outside so we have a little bit better access to that hole. Then we want to grab our pull wire, grab the end with the coiled end on it. We'll put a bend in it, just like that. We'll take the coiled end, feed it into the small hole, and then the goal is to have it come out the larger hole right behind it. So if you need to, you can put your finger in and kind of help guide it or grab it. But putting that bend in definitely helps trying to angle it down to get it to come out. And once you have it coming through, You want to make sure that the tail end is still coming out of the frame as well. But we'll take a square spacer block, we'll slide it over the coiled end, we'll push it to the inside of the frame, and we'll take a carriage bolt and we'll thread it onto the end of the wire. We're going to push everything into the inside of the frame. Just be careful of that brake line. And we'll pull on our wire until that bolt comes dropping through. Now we're going to repeat that entire process over on the passenger side as well. Now, due to manufacturing variances, some of the frame rails will not have weld nuts and it'll just be holes. If that is the case, our kit does come with enough pull wires and carriage bolts to fish wire your bolts in, and you're going to use that same access hole to get the bolts in there. Now with the next set of hands, we're going to lift our hitch into position. And I want to work it around the exhaust. Make sure it goes above. And you want to make sure you put your pull wires through the flat plates on the side. We can lift it up. We'll remove our pull wire. And then we'll secure down the bolts coming down from the frame using a flange nut. And you want to get at least one bolt in on each side. That way the hitch will support itself, and we can work on getting the rest of the hardware in place. Now to help draw up my hitch and get everything to line up properly, I'm going to come back with an 11/16 socket, and I'm going to snug up the two nuts that are coming down from the bottom of the frame. For the attachment point to the side, we're going to grab a new bolt from our kit and a conical tooth washer. There's little teeth on there. You want to make sure those are facing towards the hitch. We're going to go through our hitch, and we want to make sure we get at least a couple threads started on the bolt, hand tight, and that's going to be the same mounting hardware combination for each one of the side holes. Now once you have your hardware in the side here, we're going to come back with a 19mm socket and tighten it up. You want to make sure you come back with a torque wrench. I'm going to torque all my hardware down to the specified amount in the instructions. You're going to make sure you go back and repeat that for all your remaining hardware. I'll just spray a little bit more spray lubricant on the hanger and on the rubber isolator. We'll just lift our exhaust and slide that rubber isolator back onto the hanger. And once you have the exhaust back up, you can remove the strap, and that'll finish up your installation and your look at the CURT Class 1 Custom Fit Trailer Hitch Receiver on our 2019 Buick Encore.